Wednesday, and I went on a walk this morning and my hair's a little frizzy. I'm taking Monica over to doggy day camp. She doesn't know where we're going. She doesn't know the name doggy day camp yet. So she's going over there. I'm just going to do a half day thing, which means 5 hours or less. So I should be getting her over there close to 9, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, so I'll have to pick her up by 2. I have an acupuncture appointment at 11:30, so I thought I would drop her off over there so she could start having fun, and then I'll go home and take a shower and everything. I just picked Monica up. Look how dirty her nose is. Monica! 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 Look over here! Look over here! Apparently she had a really fun day. They said that the big dogs really like her, and they also said that she's got really good manners. She's very polite with other dogs. She's so tired. Okay, so I finished my 3 blocks for my afghan. This one was the one that was the most complicated. It's got, as you can see, it's got like little V stitches and a shell stitch along the way, V shell, and then this is double crochet, and then V shell, V shell, V shell across. So that was the 3rd block, and that one really didn't have any new stitches themselves, but new variations of them, I guess. And so that's the 3rd block. The 2nd block, this was all double crochet. So that was practicing that stitch, and this was all single crochet. So, and then there's a trim around the edge, and all of these are going to be hooked back together into an afghan at the end of it. And I'll show you here, I had almost a full roll of yarn when I finished. On my last one, on my last block, I ran out, and so had to start using the 2nd one, but this whole roll of yarn I'm supposed to hang on to will be used for making putting all the blocks together and making the trim on the afghan. So tonight I am cooking the last of the recipes I had picked out from the Oh She Glows cookbook by Angela Liddon. And you know, this I've just realized is such a good cookbook. I mean, I always knew that, but I've made some old favorites from this, and I've tried some new things, and just really good. Last night I made the cream of tomato soup with roasted Italian chickpea croutons. I did not make the roasted Italian chickpea croutons. I just knew my husband wouldn't like it. This is how the recipe looks. Tonight, I'm making this luxurious tomato basil pasta. Looks like that. What's nice about this recipe and the tomato soup recipe is that it calls for cashews that have been soaked in water either for a couple of hours or even up to overnight. Then you blend those up and add them in, and it just adds a really nice thickness when you're not using cheese in something, or cream or whatever. It just adds a nice thickness. In this case, it's kind of adding it to the sauce. And this one is not very complicated at all. You just blend up the cashews with almond milk, and then you cook up some onions and garlic and some spinach and wilt that, and then you just kind of add in everything and mix it all together. And
hi guys, it is 4:30 in the morning, and we just came back in from outside because the fire alarm was going off in the building, like the whole building. And it was kind of ironic because they said they were going to test the alarm system this week, but they didn't say it was going to happen starting today. So everyone started leaving the building. So we had to, you know, find the cats and stick them in their cat carriers. And then Monica and grabbed our computers and my purse, and out we went. And everybody was standing out there in their jammies. We were out there for probably a half hour. As it turned out, somebody upstairs set off a fire extinguisher, which then set off the alarm for the whole building. But it made us think we probably need to think a little bit better. We kind of had a plan, an evacuation plan when we lived in a house. Probably need to have a little bit better plan for, well, a different kind of plan for living here, just meaning like what kinds of things would we grab. Like I didn't have my ring on, and John said you should probably get your ring. So yeah, that was really an interesting start to the weekend. So now that I'm up this morning, it's 8 o'clock. John and I actually chatted before we went to bed last night about how we kind of need to have, well, talk about what we would do in case of a fire here. We had always talked about a fire evacuation plan if there was a forest fire, because that's always a really likely thing to happen, and we had forest behind our house, so we would always talk about what we would do, and we actually even had a list of things that we would put in the car. We had it on the inside of a cabinet in the garage, and so we kind of thought if we are on evacuation notice and we've got 15 minutes to get out of the house, what would we have? And of course, our pets would be in the car first, and my laptop, computer, and whatever, photo albums, and stuff like that. And so we had talked about that. In this situation, it was different because we were chatting about this before we went back to bed. We don't have a car to put stuff in, so it wasn't like we could just get the cats and the dog and throw them in the car and then go grab whatever else we needed. We were going to need to walk out of this apartment with whatever we could hold in our hands, and it really got me thinking in the wee hours of the morning when this happened, how little stuff seems to matter at a time like that. At least to me it didn't. John gets really cautious and like, let's think about this. And I'm like, we've got to get out of here, John. We've got to get out of here. He's like, but wait, let's think. You don't have your wedding ring, And so, and they was like, what about prescriptions? And I said, we can get them refilled at Walgreens, So just different things that I kept saying, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't, So if we had a situation where it was a house and there was time, I would have at least grabbed my mom's. We have a painting of hers that's an original, and I would have at least grabbed that. We couldn't we couldn't have. We couldn't in a situation like this with an apartment. You can't grab all your photo albums and carry them. And the truth of the matter is, if it had been an actual fire, once we left the building, they wouldn't have let us back in. That was the problem. So we've decided we're going to get, instead of our 2 cat carriers that we have, our 2 smaller cat carriers, we're going to get one carrier that's a little larger, that we can put both the cats in, and that way it's just one hand holding both the cats in a carrier instead of somebody having to carry 2 of them. I didn't think about the fact that we have our external hard drive in the office that has all of our photos, backup photos from the last, 15 years maybe. Our photo albums, and that's easy enough to take, it's the size of a book. So our photo albums are in storage, 2 storage units. One's not here at the apartments, and the other one is. The photo albums are in this apartment complex, so that they would just have been gone. But as John kept saying things like, what about this? Do we need this? I'm like, no, we don't need it. No, we can't carry that. No, it's not important. And then, and I'm like, we have insurance. We have renter's insurance. All this stuff is replaceable. And there are things that are not replaceable. I have some antique books, and I'm sure if I think about it more, there's plenty of things that around here that I would never be able to replace, but most of it is replaceable. And golly, it just sort of makes you think, well, I guess I just have to let it go. That's what happened. So, but this morning I made a list of a few things. What did I do? That we would, in case of a fire, that we would get the animals, and that we need to get a cat carrier that is big enough to hold both cats. I'd make sure I had my wedding ring, I'd get my laptop, and I would get my, my external hard drive. And I don't know. Oh, I probably should. John had gotten out he said, what about our passports? And I'm like, you can get new passports. So, I'm not even sure I would rush in and grab documents. I mean, if it's a fire, like a forest fire, and we've got notice for evacuation, absolutely, that was one of the things on our list. Not every file in our file cabinet, but a few of them that were important. But in a situation like your house is burning down, like the apartment building is burning down, I'm not sure I would worry so much about having my last 7 years of tax information. The IRS has it somewhere. And so, yeah, I don't think I would do that. You can get another copy of a birth certificate. It'd be a pain in the butt. But in a situation where your place is on fire and you have to be out, I'm just not sure that most of that stuff is important. We'll be thinking more about that today. Yeah, just interesting, because we've had the conversation about if we had 15 minutes. So we already know, what we would take if we had only 15 minutes. But what if you only have, 2 minutes?